You can't listen to a ball game at 8 in the morning on the subway, but all you need is a copy of the Daily News to relive one courtesy of Bill Gallo. The news celebrated sports cartoonist has been delighting his readers for more than half a century. His inspired lines and squiggles have captured the mugs, personalities, and foibles of many of the greatest athletes of all time, from Yogi Berra to Muhammad Ali to Walt Frazier. Bill's inkwell has also been the birthplace of some of the most famous fictional people of our times. People like Baseman Bertha, Yussi, Bernie the Bulgarian, General von Steingraber, and others. Bill makes them so vivid that you almost expect to find them hanging on the strap next to you. And looking at Bill's sketches of them in the Daily News, of course. Here's a man whose stroke on the sketch pad is as sure as Tiger Woods on the fairway. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Gallo. Bill, hi. Let's start at the beginning. As a kid, were you into sports yourself?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Astoria, Long Island, and I played ball, and I did what every other kid did. I had dreams of becoming a ball player, in fact, like we all did, and always interested in sports. That happens very early in life. I mean, I think that my father was a sports writer, first of all, so it was in my family. But the playing of it was just part of growing up.
Well, that's my next question. It's as what kind of family background did you come from?
My father was a newspaper man from Spain originally. Came here when he was 19 years old. Went to school to learn English. And there he met my mother, who was here on a vacation, but also wanted to learn the language. They met, and the rest is 3 kids later. We grew up in Astoria, and I always had this fascination with 2 things, drawing and sports. So I tied them together, and writing.
And when did you decide you wanted to be a sports cartoonist?
Well, when I was very young, I used to see the works of... At one time, the sports cartoonist was like the star of the paper. We had 11 newspapers in this town, and every one of them, except the Times, had a sports cartoonist. He was kind of like the star of the paper. I kind of liked that, and I looked at their work just like a kid wants to be an actor or a dancer. He has idols, Fred Astaire and stuff. I had idols myself. One of the great people that did cartoons. I just followed them. And I was convinced that this is what I want to do. And not only convinced that this is what I want to do, I was convinced that I was going to do it.
Well, your career had just gotten underway and World War II broke out. You went into the Marines,
Yeah.
and did you see any action, and were you able to draw, do artwork, or play any sports?
Well, I did see a lot of action. I was in 4 engagements against the Japanese. I was the first one was Kwajalein, and the second one was Saipan and Tinian and the Marianas, and the last one was Iwo Jima. And I saw a lot of action. One of the lucky ones that came back. I did some writing in the Marine Corps for the camp paper, but I never had much time to draw. We were on the field most of the time. But I always had it in the back of my head that I wanted to. We were overseas about 2 years. The war ended, luckily. Thank God for Harry Truman. And we came back, and I went right back into the newspaper business. I had started as a copy boy here in the Daily News before I went in. I was 19 years old when I went into the Marine Corps. And 7 months in the Daily News, and then came Uncle Sam, and I enlisted and went away, never thinking whether I was going to come back or not, but survived and went right back into the thing that I loved best, which was newspapers.
Well, after the war, you met your wife-to-be, Dolores Rodriguez, who was a model for Lord and Taylor. And could you tell us how the romance unfolded?
Well, I have a picture here you're going to see. It's the picture that I saw before I met her. I said, my God, how do you meet a girl like this? Somebody arranged it. We met. I didn't impress her that much, I don't think. But when I went away in the war, I wrote to her, and she wrote to me. But she wrote to a lot of servicemen, being patriotic. And and when I come back, I didn't hear from her too much. But anyway, I looked her up, and we started hanging around. And you know what happens? You start to like each other, and we did, and we've been married for a long, long time. All my life, I think I've been married. 52 years.
Oh, that's beautiful. And how many children do you have? And did they follow in your professional footsteps or Dolores's?
Well, they followed in mine, really. They followed a career in sports. My oldest son, Greg, is today, and has been for 10 years, the sports editor of our competitor, the New York Post, he's right up there, a picture of him there. And then my other son, my young son, Bill, he heads a racing, he's a head racing guy for the National Steeplechase in Maryland. He goes all over the country, put on these races. He's a handicapper, and he puts on the races. So it stayed in sports.
Oh. Well, going back now to your beginning days with the news, your mentor was Leo Amelia, and yes, what did you learn from him, and how difficult was it to take over when he passed away in 1960?
I have a little shrine of him up there. That's his drawing board, which I put up there. You can see it. He was wonderful to me. He was quite old, although I would think he would be a kid now. Everything is real. He was 76 when he died, and I thought he was a very old man. But he was very good to me. He was an excellent draftsman. And I just hang around. I'd hung around. I hung around with him so much that I became a pest, a nuisance. And one day he let me know it in a nice way. He was in a gentle way, He said, "Look, if you're one day going to take my place, but not so fast. Please, back off." So then I did. And when he died, it was tough in the beginning because he was so good, had such a great following, and I was, the shoes were pretty big that I got into, and but it all took a lot of work, and I was determined, and that's what did it.
Well, the managing editor I think Robert Shand. How did he take to your style? Was it different or?
Well, it was different, and he didn't like it because he wanted a copy of Leo, and of course I could copy him, but not. I was a second banana, and first of all, I didn't want to copy him. Everybody wants to do their own thing, and it would annoy him when I go off in my own direction. So it was going on so much. He was giving me kind of a headache, and I said, "Oh, the heck with this! I'm not going to be somebody else. So I'm going to tell him that's it." And I went to his office, and I said, "I don't want to do this anymore." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I can't be somebody else. I have to be myself, and if I can't be myself, I'd just as soon do something else, go back to reporting or something." I was a reporter. So I thought that I was drawing my last sports cartoon, and this man went out to lunch. He had his hat on and his coat. He came by my desk. He hit it twice, hit the drawing board twice, and he says, "From now on, you do it your way." And that's when I felt I had the job. I'll never forget that day.
If you'll forgive me, Bill, we have to draw the line here. It's time to go to Mickey Mantle's restaurant to join a room full of sports celebrities for the book launching of Drawing a Crowd.
Well, that I always thought that I like that line where every person has a moment in his life. This is your moment. There are probably songs written like that. My moment was in Mickey Mantle's to see all those friends of mine, all those athletes that I've drawn, that I've written about, all together, and it was just a perfect day for me. My moment.
And what a moment it was! Mickey Mantle's was bursting with famed athletes, celebrities, and business executives all there to honor Bill Gallo at his book launch. Sports columnist Mike Lupica, who emceed, noted that despite numerous changes at the paper, there's been only one sports cartoonist, Bill Gallo. Stellar attendees included basketball greats Willis Reed and Walt Frazier, noted artist Leroy Neiman, Yankee greats Dave Winfield, and beloved Yogi Berra. New York Giants pitcher Ralph Branca, and Ed Charles from the Mets, ex-Giant punter Sean Landetta, sportscaster Warner, let's go to the videotape, woof, champion boxers Mark Breland, Carmen Basilio, Jake LaMotta, and boxing historian Bert Sugar. Love you, Bert. Representatives of the Daily News included President and Chief Operating Officer Les Goodstein and Chairman and co-publisher Mort Zuckerman. New York Yankees media advisor Arthur Richmond. Let's not forget the man responsible for drawing a crowd, author Phil Cornell. Bill was kept busy autographing copies of his book, including mine. The book is dedicated to his wife Dolores, who was honored with flowers. The book party had a theme. It was Hail, Hail, the gang's all here, and the cast of characters was as lively as a Gallo cartoon.